All good to go? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Town of Pownell Special Select Board meeting, November 7th, 2024, 6 p.m. Call the meeting to order. Board member roll call.
Angie Rowling.
Carl Strohmeyer.
Mike Gardner.
Jamie First.
Y'all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda, public comment, discussion with emergency service departments regarding policies and procedures for requesting town funds, executive contractual if needed, more discussion and possible action, public comment and adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of the agenda?
Aye.
Any public comment, Hannah? All right, discussion with emergency service departments regarding policies and procedures for requesting town funds.
Can I start?
Yeah.
So,
Please.
a lot of thought went into this. I think I talked to all the departments, and staff here at the office on the best option. And I think the departments were leaning toward the floor vote, so we were thinking that stuff out, what it would look like if we did a floor vote. And what we realized is we need to budget for it somewhere, regardless of if we do a floor vote, put it in the general, or have it as a ballot article. It's you guys provide essential services. We have to provide funding for that. It has to come from somewhere. Just like we provide for the transfer station, or we provide other places like BCRC. Without going on the ballot, we just fund them. So with that said, when I thought about how a floor vote works, if we put it in our general fund so that the money's there, and then we do a floor vote and it's in the general, it's sort of voting on it twice. So my suggestion to the board was that we just include you all, fire and rescue services, in the general fund, have it voted on in that ballot article that says, do you support the town spending $1 million and whatever the exact amount is? It'll be voted on in that way so that it's supported by the general fund, it's insulated by the general fund. If that were to fail, or just as an example, we would have to put out a new budget anyways, and we still have to provide the funding, just like we have to provide the funding to run the office or any other essential service in town, the roads, that kind of stuff. So it provides a protection and the insulation within the general fund. But I don't know how you all feel about that.
So if it was in a general fund, we would have to come to you each year and submit our request for what we want for funding for our budget.
So did you see the forms that I sent with the email? There was a request form that looks just like the one that you've always done. It just has the amount and like a general budget description, but then there was a budget form that it goes line for line, like what you're gonna spend the money on. And then it asks like if you're gonna do any capital projects or any like big purchases, just to explain those. But it's not a lot of information. It's not super detailed, and it's what we ask each of our departments to do when they come for money. And then the plan, or my plan that they have to approve, would be for each department to come and meet with the board individually to do the budget session, just like our departments for the town did.
So it'll be shown on the ballot article or just?
It would.
Part of the general fund would not show.
So what would happen? So here's my thought, okay? Just Terry and I talked about this a little bit today too. Cause the floor vote didn't bother me at first, but then it did. Because what if somebody stacked a floor vote for a no vote, right? Which is possible.
That was my only.
Okay, is it likely? No. Is it possible? Yes. Someone could be mad at one certain organization for whatever reason. They could stack that floor vote for no for organization A. Okay, that's where I have a problem with that. All right, the floor vote.
And
I personally, go ahead.
It doesn't give a clear picture. If you're counted as a ballot article, it doesn't give a clear picture of what it actually costs to run the town. to operate the town, because we have to have fire and rescue services.
Right.
So to put it as a ballot article, it looks more like a social service agency or one that's like, you know, you can kind of
But
pick or choose if you want to give the money or not, you know what I'm saying? And you would be, just to answer your question, we would be in the general fund, you know, when we put out the budget in the town report, you would have, there'd be a line that say emergency services, and then you'd be broken down by department under it.
You would,
Three would be included in the one emergency service.
Well, it would just be a line item heading, you wouldn't be included together.
there would be,
Then there'd be-
three, right, there'd be three line items. There would be a line item in the general budget for Pownell Fire Protective Association.
Right.
There would be a line item for Pownell Rescue Squad, a line item for Pownell Valley Fire Department.
So that's how it would look under the general fund. Now, how would it look as a floor vote? Would it be, would the town appropriate X amount of funds for emergency services? Or would it be for Pownell Rescue, Pownell Fire?
Yes.
I think it would
That's the
have
way it would have to go.
separated out exactly the same way. So my, just, and I haven't said this to anybody, the whole time on this, my personal feeling is that, and I'm glad she brought this up today in this email because I didn't bring it up tonight, but I think that the emergency services should be in the general budget, period. I think that way you guys, it falls on the select board and future select boards to make sure that emergency services are funded every year.
That was my next question, just.
Nah.
Would this be, so from here on in, it would be in the general budget?
Jamie, that's
Because when
my,
boards change and.
that's my belief is you put it in there now and let somebody try to dig it out.
Right.
Okay, I personally believe that emergency services shouldn't be worried about, we've had this discussion individually, right, a little bit. Shouldn't be worried about where your funding is coming from. It should be coming from the residents and of the town, right?
Well,
But if, to a certain degree, I mean, and look at, we all know what's gonna happen. You're gonna keep doing what you're doing the same way, trying to raise money, trying to do what you can, trying to offset, because most of you are taxpayers as well, okay? It's a simple thing, right? You pay taxes as well.
rentals and gas counters don't.
They don't do
Buy
it.
fire trucks and gear.
Well, but I think it gives a clearer picture. I also think it gives, so this is how we would envision it working, right? So we're gonna have a budget meeting with Pownell Fire Protective Association. You come into a working session, the same as the road crew does or the transfer station or whoever, right? We come into a working session, that's all we work on that night is your budget.
Correct.
Okay, and you submit, this is what we want, this is why we want it, blah, whatever, right? And that's kind of where we go. And then we would schedule one for the rescue squad and Pownell Valley, okay? It would be the same thing. No one would be in here together, right? Because that's just not, that's not gonna be productive.
And
Okay.
that's also sort of the extent of the oversight. They're not gonna micromanage you.
Nope.
They're not gonna be like, you know what I mean? They're approving the overall amount. But I think as long as it's within reason,
You know, it's the same as, I guess, distributed the same. We don't have to come to you every time we need here.
no, it'll be distributed the same in that policy that I sent you all. It said it'll be distributed the same in December after taxes are collected.
Yep, so the same as you guys get now, right? After taxes are collected, you get your X number of dollars from each ballot article. So if your total was $100,000, right? In December, you would get a check for $100,000, okay? Or whatever the amount is, okay? The same as you do now. And then what you do with it at that point, you know, you have to come back with a budget, which I don't think is a horrible thing anyway, right? Because people ask for accountability. Nobody's trying to hide a single thing anyway. What are you trying to hide? Trying to hide the fact that you're trying to help somebody and now you're trying to figure out how to pay for it to help them?
Well,
you know,
that people, you know, that you guys and the voters know that when we sit down and come up with numbers, we're taxpayers too.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's what we're paying for.
Right. My gut tells me that from my standpoint sitting here on the select board is that the best option would be to put it into that general budget. And if the general budget gets down, then we all gotta come back to vote it down. We all gotta come back to the drawing board, right? And that's, so it just puts a little more work on.
And we have time because you wouldn't get the payments till December anyway, so.
Right, it's not like you're backed into a corner.
Right.
If you went to a floor vote and it went down, no, now you're in big trouble.
Well, then, yeah, then you have to scramble to.
Well, yeah, no, that's right, Justin. You know, you're backed into a bigger corner than if it went down on the general election.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. Now, how would a capital plan look? Now, would that be part of the general, so when I say general budget, would that be part of each organization's general budget? Or would that be an itemized separate?
They haven't
So
really.
in other words, if we said in 2042, we're gonna need air packs, we're gonna need $200,000. Now, would we have our X amount of money allocated to our budget and then you say, here's 200,000 or whatever number that may be?
Well, I would think,
In allocation to that capital plan, or would that capital be incorporated within our operating budget?
you'd put that in an operating budget on a line item
I'm asking because there's,
to, like I believe you do now. Say you're allocating 10,000 towards air packs on a line item until you, because in the future, say up for 10 years, get 100,000 or 20,000. For 10 years, you get your 200,000.
right, but we
that
talk
way-
capital, we're not talking apples to apples here. Capital is totally different than
Right.
operating.
I think there's, so,
But it's
Mike,
separate.
how was it handled in the past?
How's it?
I mean, when
We've never done this before.
okay, there,
that's
that's,
what I was,
A lot of this is getting tough for us because they're putting stricter limits on all of them.
Okay.
If we had an engineer who drove a fire truck, ran the pump, you can wear the gear for 25 years.
Right.
Now, at the end of 10 years, whether that person showed up for a single call and we kept them on a roster, that gear's no good. We
Yes.
put somebody out with it and they get hurt.
Right.
so I'm gonna try to answer Justin's question the best that I can right now. And I don't think it's gonna be a really great answer, but I'm gonna.
I might have the answer.
Yep, okay, go ahead
I
then.
mean, if you're talking about creating like a fund and you want to put money into a fund for a capital.
I'm
project,
asking how it would look, or the rescue squad saying that they need a new stretcher to the tune of X amount of money, or, I'm not saying it has to be fire related, or.
okay.
Oh, I understand.
The Powell rescue.
But any large equipment,
Kara, how would that look?
I think if you build it into the budget or even separate it out, we can separate it in the like in the general fund. So you'll have your heading, but then it'll be, say you have a fund for something, it'll be listed with that amount that goes into that fund.
So it would look no different than municipal allocations.
Correct.
Right, that's the stab I was gonna take at it, which I would assume that it's gonna say, it would say Pownell Valley Fire Department capital fund for X.
but it would be a revolving because you're adding to it every year purposely because you know down the road you've got a large purchase.
But a capital is not revolving.
But-
We're not advocating
But you can do that though
Right.
under a large item like that also.
Yeah, but I think you're thinking of it like a sinking fund.
Yeah,
Right,
that's totally different. Capital
No, not-
expenditure is something that happens once. And then it happens again X amount of years later when that piece of equipment or item has to be replaced.
Right.
Whether it be a truck, whether it be a stretcher, whether it be air packs or gear.
right, and whatever.
Right, at that point, it's,
I think there's gonna be a learning curve, right? No matter which way we go. No matter which way we go, there's definitely gonna be a learning curve here. I think that, I will say that I'm pretty excited and happy that we're all sitting here talking about this, right? And we're all in some sort of an agreement that this is what we all wanna see happen.
sure.
Right.
When things change, when people move on from emergency services, and or the board, that we're trying to set the future, not for this year.
Right. Exactly.
And I don't know, Justin, I don't know how we would say that for the next 99 years.
I don't know if you could,
Right,
but we could be as transparent as we can and say, as far as a capital expenditure, this is how you guys, how the taxpayer would see it.
right,
Versus we're gonna I shouldn't say hide it, but it's gonna be incorporated within the
right,
general budget.
right.
Or not general.
I guess I would say we probably don't have an answer for you tonight.
Yeah, I don't even know if you could get one really. I think that's gonna be a revolving type of situation, right? As it comes
I
up.
think as a town as a whole, we need to look at capital projects and capital
Sure,
expenditures.
but I mean, like,
and
use air tags, for
figure out a
example.
better-
We're not buying a dump truck for the highway department where we might be able to push it out another couple of years. When that air pack times out, it times out.
Period.
You can't use that pack anymore.
Right. Until it's been recertified or X, Y, Z.
But how many times can you do that? I mean,
No,
I
I
don't
know.
go too in depth with it because a lot of people don't understand the background of that. But when something times out or elapses.
Right. When, there's nothing to do.
That's it. And to think that it could be possibly voted down it could be a worry, you know?
The floor vote really concerned me the more I thought about it. Because like I said, if somebody was angry about something, right? Because history has said, as you guys go every town meeting, right? The attendance at a town meeting has dwindled to
Yes.
nothing. 30, 40, 50 people?
Yeah.
Where when Jamie, you and I have been in a long time, Craig, there used to be, that place was packed, standing room, right? Right? There was standing room in the gym only. Now, if somebody was angry and they got 50 or 60 of their friends to show up, or acquaintances or whatever, because they're mad over something, somebody could get, and I don't want to see that. Whereas if all three of our emergency services are in our general budget, they're all gonna pass, or none of them are gonna pass, the same as our general budget. And then we have to come back to the drawing board as a whole group. Everybody, right? Justin was like, there's the road, the transfer station, everybody comes back, fire departments, everybody that's in that general budget, and we say, and maybe there's no room to cut that. Maybe you guys are all bare bones, and we say, okay, the select board's gonna have to say, hey, we can't cut emergency services because we're already rock bottom. This is what it is. So, okay, we gotta go somewhere else, right? And to me, that's the most sensible way that's, because at the end of the day, you're gonna be guaranteed your money. Because the budget, you have to have a budget that has to pass this.
Another way to go is correct.
Right, yeah, you have to have a budget at the end of, by June, by July 1, or whatever, you have to have a budget to operate from, right? So eventually you're gonna be guaranteed the money, where the floor vote, you can come back and do whatever you gotta do, but.
With that, and you get more of a, without doing a floor vote, you get more of a general consensus of the whole vast majority of the town.
Kind of. So in a floor vote, it still has to be incorporated within the general to allocate if the floor vote passes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So either way, like a thought of looking at it as a double vote or, in that sense, it already is. So we have an article ballot that says we're asking for X amount of money. When all else fails, the town has to allocate that to keep the departments running. You can't go about without a fire department, rescue squad, or.
I just, like I said, my personal feeling is.
And I completely understand where you're coming from with that view, right?
Bring it up.
That view completely.
Bring it up to speed and.
One of the two fire departments or the rescue squad, it could be. And
Could be all three. It could be whatever, right? I don't wanna put anybody in that situation. I don't know. It's, whereas if you put a board, a future select board in a situation where the budget got shot down in March, well, that's the chance you take when you signed up to be sitting up here.
Right.
Right? That's a chance that we take.
Yeah.
Right? That's a chance Angie took when she
We all
signed up.
It's just like the school board. I mean, look at the school
It's
board.
the same thing.
Same thing.
You can also put the language in general budget, including emergency service or fire rescue. You have to put that in that.
No, 'cause
We would just put it in the general budget.
it's just in the general,
That way people
Highway has
may
to-
look
the general.
for fire. That's what
a lot of people don't already understand is it already is.
that's
It already has to
Already
be there
is.
legally, and it is already there.
right. And that's what I'm just trying to reinforce.
It's just
It's just
included
being
in a
brought to
different
light now
spot.
because it's being
It's in a
presented.
different spot. People don't realize that, yes, they have to provide those services.
That's just my, that's my 2 cents.
Tonight, what we decide?
What's that?
You wanna know tonight what we decide?
Yeah, that would be great, because
Because we're gonna have to have budget meetings.
exactly.
We don't need to know a number. Obviously, there's no way we would know a number tonight of what you guys are looking for. I'm not asking for that.
Okay with that.
With the process. That's what we're talking about, just the process.
Yeah.
So when will we have an idea what the capital plan will look like? So that kind of definitely blindsided us. We weren't prepared for that one.
They haven't even done capital planning with the department.
We haven't done any department
Some
capital.
of that.
Don't concern yourself with that right now. Just the three
We're just
things
talking about-
that I sent over, the budget
That's-
sheet, the policy, which is basically the procedure we just talked about, and then the request form. There's really
We're just,
not.
I guess the way I would say, like, we're just trying to figure out where to put you.
Sure, but it's gonna create a policy that moves.
I would, my,
There's,
It's a
the
living.
policy doesn't call for a capital plan at this point.
Gotcha.
As
Yeah.
a town, we really need to work on that before we request it from you guys.
Gotcha.
yeah, we don't even have one set up now for us. Okay, so you're probably not doing it this year. Which would be incredibly foolish for us to even ask for that, right? Because how could you be ready for a capital plan? It's November, right? And we vote in March. It's impossible to act for that, Justin. But I also think that, so to expand a little bit on this, I think there's a couple of things that can happen. So when we do start talking about a capital plan, right? And this just kind of popped into my head today. I think we don't ask you what your capital plan is and ask you what your capital plan is and whatever. We try to do it. Again, this is my opinion and my thoughts, and it came out of my head today. Is we try to do a fire service capital plan together, right? Of what the fire service capital plan for the town of Pownell should look like, right? And what the rescue service capital plan for the town of Pownell should look like. Not what each individual one, and you have to separate the fire department from the rescue squad, right? We have to do that, but that's goes without saying to a certain degree. Well, I really believe that we could take a fire department capital plan between the two organizations and come up with a really pretty solid plan. You guys are already doing it. You're already doing it. You're just not calling it a capital plan. You're already talking with each other. You're already buying stuff that, you're working together to buy things. You're already doing that capital plan, so to speak, right?
Sure, absolutely.
And so we're just, I guess we're getting into the 90s instead of the, we're just so far behind, and nobody's fault. It's just the way it is.
So what do we do now, Mike?
So without the capital planning, it's okay with you? You're comfortable? You're
We're
not?
looking at,
I'm one person here.
I would, so because I know how you guys all operate, right? I know how everyone, nobody has, not one of the three organizations here has a single person that makes a decision. Right? I'm not gonna ask you guys to tell me tonight. I'd love to, but I'm not going to.
Well, I guess that's my concern, because of the way we operate. Everybody has a vote in our organization.
That's where I'm going with it.
I can't really make that call. Greg as the chief can't really make that call.
I don't want you to, because I think that goes against, I think it goes against everything
That we've done.
that from the startup of every single one of the three organizations, it goes against everything that they've done
Yeah.
for the history of the organization.
Right, the process.
Right.
So,
Because the membership for each one of the three has always had an equal say.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna ask you tonight.
so we're gonna
I'd
table,
love to.
With that being said, we have our business meeting on Monday night. Yours is Monday night. So, we can get the answers.
Can you
So I
get
can
it
bring it back
to
to the next
me? Bring it to us next meeting, next week?
That way they can approve policies.
Mike, do you need a motion to table this until next meeting?
No,
no, this is more information.
This is
This is
more
just
information.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
And Beck, can you? Okay, so we'll put you on the agenda for, next Thursday. Okay,
Yeah, well.
and, we can go from there. I mean, there's always room for questions between now and then. If somebody has it, whatever, shoot an email to Tara. we'll try, obviously, we're not gonna have a meeting, but
Right.
I really believe in my, all the way through that this is the way to go and that it's
What are we asking the firemen to come back to us with?
how they want to see it funded, whether they want to see a floor vote, whether they want to see ballot articles that we have, or whether they want to see it on the general fund. Is that?
That's your three options.
It's
I would-
basically if it's over.
Unless you guys have another option, unless there's something else that I'm missing, but I think that the way I
Now,
see
do
it,
we want to have them all do the same, or do we want to have this as a?
Yes.
I would love to see a general consensus the same, but I think we're fine. I think we're okay with that.
If you're okay with the way I sent it to you, you don't even have to come next week. I can just have them approve that policy.
Send an email, that way we have it.
But yeah,
Yeah, definitely send an email so that we have it in an email form so we can say, yep, this is what they wanted. Or not, or this is, whatever. So you wouldn't have to come back, whatever.
Unless you want.
Okay with that?
You guys okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I,
Do you need a number next week as well?
No, this is just to get the ball going so that we know where to put you.
Just checking, make sure while we're having a meeting, we cover the dog.
So how does this look as far as the timeline? Are we this year going to be a ballot article again, or are we gonna be?
I
No,
wanna,
We make it.
no, that's you're gonna be right in, you'll be going right into the new, whatever the new one is.
I wanna see it on the general budget this year. but-
and me too.
When-
It's like now.
Yeah.
Well, it's not quite now yet, now in about
Yes.
3 weeks.
Usually it starts in October.
I think
I'm already
you guys
budgeting.
I think you guys have your numbers pretty much in your heads as it is, right? I don't think the number thing is gonna be a huge hurdle. I think the hurdle is gonna be to figure out how we wanna do it. How we come into an agreement with it. Once we overcome that hurdle, then I think the budget part of it will be pretty quick, right? Our budget sessions, the last couple of years have been fairly quick. There's been a lot of effort put into by Ellen and Tara and Hannah and stuff to bring, when we do have our budget sessions, they've been pretty smooth.
Mhm.
I don't want to jinx it, but they've been, I probably just did, right? But
You just did, but hopefully for you guys, we haven't jinxed it.
so I don't see it being a long drawn out process at a budget session either. I don't see it being multiple nights. I see it being a one and done,
Right, right.
Okay.
That's how I envision it. And I don't think, there again, Jamie, you would bring, the president may bring in the budget, or the chief may bring in the budget, or however you guys set it up, right? You may send the guy that's only been there 3 weeks to bring in the budget. That's irrelevant to us, who brings it in and presents it.
And you'll be having conversations with Tara long before that on everything, so that when you bring it to us, a lot of the questions that would have been, she would have already answered for you.
I would think if we do that, just thinking out loud right now, maybe having a budget, a little bit in advance that we could look at before the night, that let's say you're slated for December 12th, right, Jamie? If we had a budget to look at before that, so if anybody had any questions, we may be able to ask the questions before that night. Does that sound all right, Tara? That's kind of what we do with the other stuff, and this is kind of new, so that, something reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not. We will have an answer by Tuesday morning. How much way do we wanna go, and then we can sit down, figure out the budget.
Yeah.
Not like we're waiting another month.
Yeah, no, I'm not, I don't wanna wait. But I also, I'm not gonna put you guys on the spot, and I know how the thing works. I know how every one of you guys operate, as far as that goes. We all do.
Right now, I would be crucified.
And justifiably so, right? Yeah,
Only discussion.
yeah, justifiably so. So, if we could have it next Thursday night, then we're all in good shape. And then we can just keep moving forward. My big goal is to get it so you don't have to, worry about where your funding's coming from every single year. And we can, continue to provide the quality of service that you've been providing to the town. And outside, mutual aid and whatever else.
All right.
Anybody have anything else? You guys have anything else? You comfortable? Questions for us? Anything at all? If you do come up with something, shoot an email to Tara and try to figure out, but in the meantime, I think it's time to move forward. I'm with you. Okay, anybody have any questions for them?
Nope,
We're good?
we're good.
Perfect. Quickly. Nice.
Public comment, I guess.
I don't think you need an executive, right? Yeah.
Unless you
Nope.
guys wanna, or anything. Okay. I had to put it on there as an option, because it's special, you can't have. it.
Right. No, that's fine.
Okay.
I knew that. I didn't. So we don't need the more discussion and possible action because we didn't have an executive. Any public comment, Hannah?
Yeah, Jim has his hand up.
Hello, people. Jim Kosis, North Mason Hill Road. First of all, I think it's a great move putting the fire services and the rescue squad on the general budget. I do just have a few comments. First of all, I just would hopefully the membership of the fire department and the rescue squad would not even entertain the motion that it be a floor vote. Not enough people go to that meeting, so I hope it just continues to be put into the general fund and let the people vote for the whole town budget, including the fire service. The one question I do have is because it is we're dealing with individual corporations, different types of things. Is it something that we need to have a contract with these individual companies just to make sure that we are dealing with them as individuals and that they are supplying a contracted service similar to the sheriff's department? I do know you mentioned that you fund the BCRC, and I think that is set up more as a membership. So I'm not sure, but I just put that out there for you guys to have a discussion before we get too far into this whole thing. The second thing is right now the fire departments already have, in a sense, and they may not know it, but I hope they do have their own capital funding. Monies have already been given to each department and that they are putting monies aside for trucks. So hopefully that monies will be just earmarked accordingly. There would be a question that the Pownell Valley has been given monies for the building fund, I think. So there's just got to be a separate discussion on the building fund and everything. But the bottom line comes, I'd hate to see in the budget or the vote that each organization has to have a certain amount of money earmarked for operation or for capital. I think they just need now, because they're their own corporations, they're their own managements. They need to just make sure that they know what they want to do as a service to the town to make sure that they are funded properly and that they have the equipment properly to make sure that the town is totally secured for any fire or rescued situation. And I was just a little confused at the beginning of whether Tara said that there would be put it into the general fund and that there would also be a ballot article. I was a little confused on that. I'm hoping she's saying that she will say that no, there will not be a ballot article coming up, that everything will be in the general fund. So thank you very much. And I think this is a move forward in the 20th century. Thank you.
That's only general, not, sorry. Only general, not a ballot article in addition.
As far as the monies that have already been allocated, and we'll use because Jim brought up the building fund. I don't see where that's, I see where he's coming from, but that's a kind of a moot point, because whatever you have in that building fund, I'm sure is just gonna transfer into a building fund. It's not gonna be rolled into a air pack fund or whatever else. And your goal is for a building.
That's correct.
Right.
Everything's already allocated. We do not plan on changing any of our allocations.
Right.
We are just solely talking about how we are going to be funded.
In the future.
We are in the future. We are not talking about how we're going to earmark anything different than what it may have once been. We
Right.
still have the same visions of where we need to be.
Yeah.
Right. The only thing that's changing, the only thing that I see in this whole conversation, and since we've been working on this, the only thing that in my mind is changing is the worry of whether or not your ballot articles are gonna pass. And if you're gonna be funded or not for the next year, without having to say, yep, the town has to or whatever, you know?
Right.
But, right?
Sure, but you don't go down that road unless.
That's right. The only thing that I see is that you're no longer shouldn't be worried about where your funding is coming from in the future. And that's been my goal all along, is to try to get, you know, or at least the majority of your funding for whatever you need.
Unless I'm incorrect, I believe, like you stated before, per our charter and everything, it's the town's responsibility to support fire and rescue emergency services. Therefore, you don't need a separate corporation contract, to my knowledge.
I will double check that.
Let's just check that out. Before we answer any questions, we should check that
I
out.
don't think that's a big deal.
No, I'm
Right?
I can,
You already know.
I can figure that out.
Saying, we're receiving $100,000 from the town of Pownell and we're agreeing to provide fire service for whatever. We're already doing the same.
How much different is that we're doing it right now?
correct.
It's just a matter of which pot we're taking it out of.
You know, it all comes out of the same pocket.
Well, the big pot, but I'm just saying that, you know what I'm saying.
It's hard to. It's all coming out of the same pocket. It's just how far we have to dig into.
That's right.
Whatever pocket.
Yeah.
Right? I think Jim brought up a couple good things there, you know, a couple good points for sure, but, I think those are pretty insignificant hurdles to get over. I think the hurdle is gonna be to come up with how we want to do it together, you know, on the same, everybody's on the same page and then move forward with it. And then I think all that other stuff, the capital plan is not to be worried about now. We don't have a policy in place for it anyway. We don't have a capital plan for.
Is there?
We should have.
We will.
Right, we should have, but we don't, right?
We'll be there soon.
Mike, we're done with public comment?
Yep.
So what do we do now?
Yeah, so, anybody else good? I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
I'll entertain a motion, sorry, I don't want to make it.
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.